Now this is going to be one of my last videos for a while, but I wanted to say some things about reality and the reality that we can see and feel, which contradicts what we are taught. And knowing these truths make me feel like a very rich man. You don't have to be a millionaire or have a lot of money to feel rich. You can be rich in knowledge and rich in wisdom and love. And I tell you right now, there's a book that can destroy scientism that matches observable reality, not only observable, what we see with our eyes, but what we feel with our God-given senses. Now, they attack us at a young age in kindergarten, first and second grade, and teach us that the earth is spinning faster than a mediocre bullet. Do you even know that a mediocre bullet travels a little faster than 1,000 miles an hour? They tell us at the equator of the earth, the halfway mark between their northern and southern hemispheres, that the earth is spinning, rotating over 1,000 miles an hour, 1,038 miles an hour. But I promise you, no man, no woman, no one has ever walked outside or went anywhere and detected or felt any such movement. All we see and feel is peace and calm. You can go to a pond on a calm day and see your reflection in the water. That could never occur if the earth in its entirety were spinning faster than a bullet anywhere, let alone at its equator. The Bible, which many Christians don't recognize this, not many read their Bibles, a lot go to church, but that's it. But 1 Chronicles 16:30 tells the truth. He has fixed the earth firm and immovable, with an I, immovable. Psalms 93:1, thou hast fixed the earth immovable and firm. Psalms 96:10, he has fixed the earth firm and immovable. Psalms 104, verse 5, thou did fix the earth on its foundations that it can never be shaken. Now please don't let a low IQ intrude. I was myself in an earthquake in Buffalo, New York one time. It was the most outstanding thing that has ever occurred to me in Buffalo. That's a lot from a guy from Rochester saying that of Buffalo. But I was in a 6-story building sitting in a chair, and out of nowhere, at like 100 oscillations per second, everything started shaking. Me, the chair, the floor, the walls. And I looked at the other people in the room, and you could see it, that they were feeling the same thing. And one guy even stuck both his hands out to try to grab something. But it only lasted 10 seconds. It was the most amazing thing I had experienced in a very long time. It was cool. I'm glad it wasn't severe, that the ceiling didn't cave in or the floor give out. But this localized movement of the earth was not felt in Rochester, and later that day on the news it was reported that there was a small earthquake in Buffalo. Now, when Psalms 104 verse 5 says he did fix the earth on its foundation, that it can never be shaken, that talks about the entirety of the earth, the whole earth, not little localized small parts, which is due to tectonic plates moving under our feet. And plates give it away. Plates, plain, flat, they're not spear-shaped. Okay? Now, these verses that I mentioned are followed by a dozen more. This is a recurring statement in the Bible. He has fixed the earth firm and immovable. Okay, so if you're a Christian, you should know that. You should realize what it means. It's not just one verse in the Bible. I mean, this is reported 4 or 5 times in the book of Psalms. Psalms 93:1, thou hast fixed the earth firm and immovable. 96:10 in Psalms, he has fixed the earth firm and immovable. Psalms 104, thou didst put the earth on foundations that it never be shaken. First Chronicles 16:30, he has fixed the earth firm and immovable. Therefore, I'm going to believe that. You want to know why? Not only because I have faith in God, but because my senses also tell me that. Now, if someone told you your house was rotating or spinning at 10 miles an hour, you'd know it. You wouldn't have to be told that. You'd know it. I'd have to get everything off that table there. I'd have to secure it with tape or glue, which I'd never do. I'd pack them up. You couldn't do the things we did if your house was rotating in any direction 10 miles an hour, let alone faster than a bullet at the equator. This is illogical, but this is what they hit us with when you hit kindergarten in the first, second, and third grade. Otherwise, if they waited longer until you got in the fifth or sixth grade to hit you with that, they'd have much more problems moving on to the next lie of scientism. Because people would have problems with that because their minds would be more developed. Our minds are malleable when we hit kindergarten in the first and second grade. We soak it in. We're taught to instantaneously believe everything that anyone in a white lab coat says, or in a $5,000 suit, or if they're your teacher standing up there in front of the class, or if they're sitting at a desk with diplomas on the wall behind them with little blue and gold ribbons affixed to them. But I promise you, this is not learning. Memorizing material to just regurgitate later for a test or in a conversation, that is not knowledge. All it proves is you may have a good memory. We have our God-given senses that tell us. If it weren't for our God-given senses, we would not know when to fight or take flight. Nowadays, both are disregarded and people do nothing. Okay, they don't fight or flight, they just do nothing. But without our senses, we wouldn't be able to sense danger. Okay? Our senses keep us alive. They tell you when to eat, when to go to sleep, when you need rest or food, or when you got to use the toilet. Okay? We're lied to on a scale so great that it is highly unlikely that most will ever rebound to reclaim independent logic. And I joke sometimes. I'll ask someone in a debate in a comment, when is the last time you had an independent thought? It's 2000, almost 2022, they claim, by their solar calendar. We got the lunar calendar, Gregorian calendar, Julian calendar. Our time, the way they do things is all messed up to hide our history, but that's another video. I think I addressed that a little in a previous video. But I highly doubt there will be any return. I like I said, I joke, and maybe some people have had an independent thought, maybe in 2001, or maybe once a year when they declare their resolution of what they want to change in life, which they never fulfill anyway. Now, what these liars of scientism? I say scientism because there is scientism and there is real science. And these liars of scientism like to masquerade the garbage, the theories they put forth, masqueraded as science. But real science has hypotheses, variables. These experiments only are the truth when they render the same result. The truth requires no theory. When it is not the truth, then rears the ugly head of scientism, which is all theory, backed up by artist renderings, conceptions, animation, and augmented virtual reality, a favorite of NASA. Do you know how many times they've been busted during live feeds of alleged being in an infinite vacuum above the Earth? Using augmented virtual reality mess-ups because they haven't mastered it yet, and using harnesses to act like they're floating? They've been busted. That's why these people, I call them globlings or or goblins, they won't argue about NASA no more. They'll always say, this ain't about NASA, because they know any review of the flat earth shows immediately that NASA is fraud. They can't argue with the live feeds that NASA.gov still contains on their site. The mess ups. It's as though someone at NASA is trying to show what these liars are doing. I got people telling me, so there's 100 people at terminal computers there, all working, and they don't know that these people are all working on simulations of rockets going up and people's heartbeat. This is a simulation on their computer screen. I wouldn't question it either if I was making 1,000 or 1,500 a week doing it. But they're all watching simulations. It's not real. They blast a rocket off that never goes straight up, so they slap on an escape velocity excuse. But the reason why they don't go straight up, because there's a barrier that they do not want to strike. And strike they will if they go straight up, so they don't go straight up. They go, and you know what they do. They blast off straight up, and they do this wide, heavy arc and go back down. Always over the conveniently located ocean, where they ditch over the Bermuda Triangle. Now, these liars of scientism will even try to use the Bible to support their big giant ball. In Isaiah, they'll say in Isaiah 40, verse 22, where God sits above the earth, God looks down on the circle of the earth, and we humans appear as grasshoppers. Now, you see that clock over there, over here, right there? The two faces are circles. Those are not spheres, those are circles. In geometry, there's a difference between a circle and a sphere. That would be a half a sphere at the top of that lamp. If I could flip another lampshade upside down, that would be a sphere, a three-dimensional object. A circle is two-dimensional. You understand? It only has a length and width. Not width, length and, width. It's not three-dimensional. It can only exist on two axes. While the spherical object, if the lamp had one underneath it, it would have three axes. It would have the horizontal, the vertical, and the side diagonal. You understand? Now, the circle of the earth, and we appear as grasshoppers in Isaiah 40:22. But again in Isaiah chapter 22, verse 18, Isaiah himself proves that he knows the difference between a circle and a ball. Isaiah 22:18 says, I will violently toss thee like a ball, not a circle. It doesn't say I will violently toss thee like a circle. I will violently and surely toss thee like a ball. And that is Isaiah 22:18. And then Isaiah 40:22 says God looks down on the circle of the earth, and we appear as grasshoppers. Now, if I laid that clock down on its back, you could look down on that clock, and both faces, I would say I'm looking down on two circles. The one on the top that tells the time, and the one on the bottom for the days that indicate the days in the month, and the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yes, it's like a calendar clock from 1870 that works. But that is a circle, and there's a big difference between a circle and a sphere. And the Bible tells the truth. We live on ground that is in the shape of a circle with four corners. Now, you see how that clock has a circle right there? But then you can draw a square around it. So there's four corners with a circle within the square. This is observable. You know why the flat earth continues to reign victorious? The phenomenon of the flat earth, why now it's being censored? If you Google flat earth on YouTube, you will get 38 million videos that are all against the flat earth. You won't get nothing that tells anything about the flat earth, just these scoundrels saying why it's dumb. And if it was, as they say, so dumb and stupid and ridiculous, there wouldn't be 38 million videos trying to prove it. Do you understand that? You would pay no mind to that which is ridiculous, dumb, and stupid. Okay? Now, my point was on that. I'm going to have to pause that to think that over. Hold on. Actually, I wanted to light my cigarette, a habit I'm trying to quit. I ask God for more faith because we can always ask for more faith, and it will be given abundantly. But the flat earth phenomenon reigns because it contains things that can be demonstrated, that we can prove with our senses of sight and how we feel. Our senses, again, protect us from danger, flight and fight. But nowadays, the liberal lunatics are teaching people to do nothing and allow everything. That what is right is now wrong, and what was wrong is now right. I will briefly say that America is being toppled, and it parallels the United States of Babylon or the United States of Sodom and Gomorrah, where the merchants from afar will weep at the smoke that goes up over America when the white helmets move in to allegedly restore peace from anarchy, that defunding the police so there can be no response to the cries of the innocent or weak against the anarchy of citizens that have no jobs and millions of people flooding this country who sooner or later will have to resort to crime. These false promises of free welfare, ability to vote, go get your driver's license, that's all nonsense. That's just a way to get them all in here to destabilize America for a new world order, where the whole world is governed by one organization, not even a country. But the flat earth reigns because it verifies what we can see. We can see way too far to be on a ball. And the magical get out of jail free cards that they always throw, gravity and refraction. You can't have a straight tangent line to determine the radius of your big ball, 3959, if refraction is at work. You can't have a tangent line. So that's debunked. The radius of the Earth cannot be 3959, 3,959 miles with refraction. Okay? And perspective is why things appear to get smaller at the vanishing point, which is the horizon, where things converge. Like if you look down a long hallway and the ceiling lights, they're evenly spaced and parallel. The ceiling is parallel to the floor, both level, but the ceiling lights seem to get lower when you look way down, like they're going towards the floor. That's perspective. Okay? But you can go way down to the end and stick your hand up, and it's the same measurement there than it was way at the forefront where you were in the first place looking down. The lights appear to get lower, just like street lamps on a long street. If you look down them, it'll appear as if they're getting lower in the distance. They converge at the vanishing point. So the flat earth reigns. And that's why they have to censor it with thousands of videos. Type it in on YouTube or the internet. It's all these clowns saying why flat earth is stupid and dumb and ridiculous. You wouldn't need that many videos if that were true. I would not be sitting here before my family claiming that the earth is flat and stationary if I could not verify this. Okay? People in my family think I'm smart. You know, I was valedictorian of my graduating class. They know this. Let me be honest, it was of my GED But it was for the whole state of New York. I was a valedictorian, and they videoed me getting my GED. But out of everyone who took the GED that year, I scored the highest. And everything I studied for never even appeared on the dang test. That irritated me. But I would not be sitting here saying what is ridiculous and absurd. And I know when you first hear that, that's the way it sounds. When I first seen it, I like researching aliens. And I like to challenge my faith to secretly think, how would this affect me if a big-headed alien got off a spaceship from another world, far, far more advanced than us? How would that affect my faith? I entertained that, but the bottom line always was I'll keep my faith and I don't care what any alien says. Now I know there are no other worlds, that the things we look up in the sky are just lights of varying natures, varying densities, gaseous, electromagnetic, electricity, magnetism, water. A lot of people like to think there's some plasma up there. I can't verify that, but it could be possible. I know light has no mass. No one in the comment section will challenge that. They can't. I don't care what Google tells you. You can't demonstrate it yourself. Light cannot be weighed. You cannot shine light on a weight scale and get the weight scale to register anything on any type of scale. You cannot burn light you can shine light into the hottest furnace on earth and that light shall remain. And any gale force wind cannot blow light off its trajectory where you're shining it. It will remain. People want to know how those lights stay up there. They're lights. And electromagnetic is true and demonstratable. We can directly detect electricity per current and by seeing a thunderbolt in the sky, lightning. And magnetic field is real, and anyone can demonstrate a magnetic field with a horseshoe magnet, a piece of paper, and clippings of iron. It will form the magnet, the paper over the magnet, and the shavings on top of the paper will form a magnetic field that you can look at that's always the same. And the magnets on your fridge, we have harnessed magnetic field. We have harnessed electricity to power our devices and do many things. We are ourselves electric. And that's why if you have a heart attack, electricity can revive you in a lot of cases. And it can kill you if you're subjected to too much voltage. But the Bible is true. The Bible is the truth. It corresponds with natural, observable reality. And anyone with an IQ over 99 knows, if they care to think about it for a minute, that the Earth cannot be spinning faster than a bullet at the equator, over 1,000 miles an hour. And if you're a Christian, if you didn't know, now you know that there's over a dozen places in the Bible that tell us that the Earth is fixed, firm, and immovable. Okay, so if the Earth is spinning faster than a bullet at the equator, then that means, and I hate to say this, but if that were true, then that would mean the Bible were incorrect. And I promise you, I wager my soul and all my goods, the Earth is not moving whatsoever in its entirety. It is fixed, firm, on foundation pillars, and stationary and immovable, just like 1 Chronicles 16, verse 30. He has fixed the earth firm and immovable. Psalms 93:1, thou hast fixed the earth immovable and firm. Psalm 96:10, he has fixed the earth firm and immovable. Psalms 104, verse 5, thou didst fix the earth on its foundation that it can never be shaken. And Isaiah identifies the earth, its dimension, as circular. And it is not a sphere, because Isaiah where did I write that? Isaiah 22:18 says, I will violently toss thee like a ball. That is Isaiah recording them words that God says, I will surely and violently toss thee like a ball. So if the earth were a ball, in Isaiah 42 chapter 40, verse 22, it would say God looks down on the ball of the earth and we appear as grasshoppers. No, he says he looked down on the circle of the earth. The earth is not a giant spaceship whizzing through an infinite vacuum universe. They show us these crazy animations of a giant ball covered in water, covered in clouds, floating around the outside surface of the earth within outer space, which is really what they say is an infinite vacuum universe, billions of light years across. But we know and can demonstrate and can verify what happens when gas or oxygen come into contact with a vacuum. The more bigger the vacuum, the more violent the result. The gas and oxygen will flow into the vacuum, just like a lot of water will flow immediately down the drain. If you have a slop sink that can hold 40 gallons of water and you fill it up and take that plug out, that's the same thing that'll happen with gas and oxygen going into a vacuum. When you pull that plug, that is available volume for that water to escape, to go fill, and it will drain immediately, just like the gas and oxygen of the earth would continue to flow and disperse and fill. A 36 billion light years availability of room/volume to fill. It would not just stop and exist right next to a vacuum. The earth is contained with a firmament. Pressure cannot be demonstrated in any form on the earth without containment. You cannot bring home propane without a tank, hairspray without a can. There is no gas that you can bring home unless it's in a tank, a can, or within a contained environment. Okay, so by saying look up, look out, oh, the air gets thinner at altitude. Look out the window. The air is still here, ain't it? So it must be possible that the air stays on the earth without a container. You're begging the question. You are using for evidence the very thing we are questioning. That is called begging the question. You must come with something else that can demonstrate pressure. When gas hits the walls of a container, that causes pressure. Okay? If there are no walls to contain it, it'll keep going in all directions until it hits something. And their model states there is no containment of the earth. They're telling us that gravity pulls down the gas and oxygen that comprises 5 layers of atmosphere, exosphere, ionosphere, stratosphere, troposphere. That's all BS. That can't be demonstrated on the earth. And if gravity is pulling it down, how the hell did it get up there? It's coming from us, trees, the ground, all the gases they say that are way up before the Kármán line, 100, 200 miles above the earth, came from the earth. And it would have had to have traveled up there. So if it's getting pulled down, how the heck did it get up there in the first place? That is ridiculous and illogical. No, you cannot have gas remain fixed or unto one place unless it's contained. I'm sorry. You are instantaneously believing indoctrination, nonsense garbage by scientism, Wikipedia, and Google. Go with what you can verify, demonstrate, and see. The earth is not moving. And the Bible says so. Please review the Bible. The Bible tells the truth. And we were made. Nothing on the screen could exist without a being that was superior, that had the ability of thought to make a plan and a process to make these things. They could not exist on their own. Nothing from nowhere cannot exist in a three-dimensional physical reality of matter, because it's nothing and nowhere. And in a three-dimensional physical reality of matter, there's always something, be it air or trees or dirt. There is nowhere or nothing. I'm out of time, and God bless you. Call upon the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and you will be saved. And never give